Hey everybody, welcome back to the Danger Planet. I'm Brandon, and today I'm joined by Vitaly and Ian. Say hi, guys.
Hey,
No.
And we are talking about the Appetite for Destruction Squad box for Star Wars Shatterpoint. Make a Kalish noise.
Wookiee noise.
I think they're kind of like insects.
or bugs.
We have before us the General, the Grievousest, General Grievous. General Grievous is the new leader from the new primary unit for Star Wars Shatterpoint. He is 8 squad points, which is great. He has 3 force points, which doesn't make sense. He is a robot, but it's fine. Onward is his tactic. At the start of this unit's activation, choose another allied battle droid character within range 4. The chosen character may dash. He also has Scuttle for 1 force, which is an activated ability where he can gain scale until the end of the turn, and 1 character in this unit may advance. Now, we had previously talked about scale without being super direct. It's just in the rulebook. You can look it up. But anytime that you are doing any movement other than climb, you can treat it as a climb. So if you're doing an advance, a jump, or a
Irish jig.
dash, you can treat it as a climb instead. That's what scale does. So it doesn't just let you ignore terrain while moving, even though that would have been great. But so Scuttle is basically pay a force. You can take an advance, or if you need to go over terrain, you can climb instead, which is
Some
still
might
pretty strong.
say that would have been too strong.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you could just advance over terrain, you just run around. To be honest, I don't even know that would have been too strong. It's not like climbing multiple times a turn isn't already super strong. I don't know.
At least
Maybe.
gives you the flexibility too that like it doesn't have to be the one you get the advance you get from Scuttle. You can be like, I need to advance first, then climb. Well, you can do that.
Yeah, but he doesn't have scale just printed on him like the troopers do, right? He has to get it with a force point, which means he only has it during his turn. So anytime you do any sort of outside of activation movement, if you have to like punch something out of activation, you won't be able to get scale. But for 2 force points, he has a reactive ability called "I have been trained in your Jedi arts." That's not true. He hasn't.
No, I remember it's in the movie. It says I've been training your Jedi arts by Count Dooku.
Yeah, but he hasn't though. Has he?
I mean, in some of the forms of art, like watercolors and spray painting.
Wild. Well, I think personally, I thought that he had been trained in the form where after a close combat attack made by a character in this unit is resolved, that this unit may use this ability in each enemy unit that has 1 or more characters engaged with the attacker, except the defending unit, suffers 2 damage. I thought it was that art that he was trained in.
Could
Maybe.
be both.
Which, like, that's fine, right? It seems okay. So if you have a unit attack him, he damages everybody else. Which is neat in that it basically sort of suggests that you kind of want to just run him into and tag a bunch of dudes that are all piled up, and then if they punch you, be like, bah, 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 bah. I don't know how likely that actually is, but I don't know. Have either of you triggered it ever?
Yeah, Ian used
okay.
it against me when I was using Luminara in a test game. And it's expensive, but it's just basically being able to just splash some free damage onto other characters. So
Yeah. So like I was like Vitaly was trying to protect Luminara with the Republic Commandos. I ran in, hit the Republic Commandos, and then slapped Luminara as well.
All right. Well, I've only played Grievous in 1 game at this point. Although I've been watching his stuff for a while and I've seen a couple. I think I didn't use it, but I can. I mean, free damage is free damage, right? Well, it's not free; you have to pay for it. But damage outside of attacks is damage outside of attacks, right? Which is just very strong.
Yeah.
I find it mostly comes up in like tight spaces. So like if you're up on the catwalks, you're more likely to have it come up there because it's harder to not be in engagement range up there if people want to be in engagement range with you.
Yeah, and I mean, as far as reaction abilities go, and they do sort of seem to be this way for this game, most of the time, they're not necessarily things that you're going to do. Like, for instance, the reverse damage on ranged or melee attacks that some of the Sith and Jedi have. They're more abilities that exist to sort of send a message or sort of warp the game in a way that gives you like protection from things, because you can choose to ignore it, and this is basically the same thing, right? It's just that ability put into a different package. You know, you just sort of going to make the calculated decision. With Grievous, it's, do I want to pile up and try and take this one objective, or do I want to spread myself out more instead of, I'm just going to shoot you. Oh crap, I can't shoot you. You're a Jedi. I'll have to melee you. But it sort of feels the same to me, you know?
And this ability is really good for just like trickling damage through on people with really strong defensive tracks, where it's like, you might not want to have to go take the risk of just getting nothing through against them. Yeah. Or maybe they've already been hurt, but they have a really good defensive track, so you couldn't, you know, clean them up. And as long as you have something else to tag, it's just a good way to just kind of like put some damage on them without having to actually attack them. Yeah, it's one of those abilities where like it might be a niche thing where it comes up, but when it comes up, it's super impactful.
Yeah, and then we have his innate ability, which is called Appetite for Destruction. After this unit makes a combat action, you choose an allied battle droid supporting character within range 3. The chosen character gets to dash, then that character can make a 5-dice attack targeting one of the same enemy characters within range and line of sight. So like, in general, we've seen this a lot where people will get the ability to move dudes and let them punch. This is, I think, the first one that we've seen that is just when I attack, somebody else also gets to attack. Oh, no, it's not. It's actually the same thing as Captain Rex, right? Except instead it's combat action and battle droid instead of ranged combat action.
Yeah, Rex is he gets to slide out and then do an attack himself. This is Grievous punches somebody and then tells a droid to move up and punch and shoot or punch something that he's already fighting.
And like, if we're talking battle droid supporting characters, I mean, we have Magna Guard who like just shove for days, right? Which is generally pretty strong. But well, to just hit his last bit, his identity ability, his signature. Another fun addition to my collection. When a character in this unit wounds an enemy unit after the effect is resolved, that character may heal 2. So anytime Grievous wounds somebody, he can heal 2. But if he wounded a unit that was a Force user, he also gets to refresh 2 Force, which is great. It's very thematic. It's very Grievous. He wants Jedi butts for his collection. I mean, lightsabers.
Yes.
Yeah. And of course he has 11 stamina, 3 durability.
Yep.
Yeah. Because he's a leader who's not Maul, so he gets 3 durability, and 11 is pretty strong because he's a big robot guy, you know? Just don't hit him, just don't punch him in the chest where he's coughing all the time.
Yeah.
That's why he's got all that armor there.
Yeah. So like obviously Onward's real good. Being able to move your dudes, very strong. Scuttle, extra movement for him. It's a movement ability that's really strong.
Sure is.
We talked a lot about I've been training your Jedi arts and Appetite for Destruction, but overall, what do you think, Grievous? Yeah. He's got a good range of abilities. Sort of support oriented, does stuff.
I think as of when this video is coming out, so without Mace Windu and Mother Talzin or anyone else being released, he is probably the second best primary in the game.
Yeah.
Behind Vader. Because his damage track is just silly. Like he can get to 8 damage by doing almost nothing, and his full track is 11. So
well, I mean, let's talk about his cards, right? So
I think he's amazing.
Yeah, his 2 stances. So he has one side he has a ranged attack at 7 and a melee attack at 6 with 5 defense. The other side he has no ranged attack but melee 8 with 4 defense, and it's all damage. It's crazy.
Yes.
So his melee damage oriented bit has pretty actually kind of garbage, obviously garbage defense expertise. His melee expertise isn't great. 1 to 2 is a crit, 3 is 2 crits, 4 is 2 crits and 2 damage, or 3 is 2 crits and a damage, I should say. 1 to 2 is 1 crit and a hit. It's like fine, but like his chart is 2 damage and then 3 damage, 2 damage, disarmed, 4 damage, which is insane. For 5 hits. You get 11 damage, just flat, right? 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and a disarm. Or you can go damage to 2 damage to shove in a damage, 2 damage, reposition and 2 damage.
I honestly disagree that his expertise track isn't like on a just like White Room not taking his damage tracks into context. Perspective, his expertise track isn't great, but crits are really valuable on Grievous's damage track because unless you have a way to negate crits, and there aren't many people in the game that can do that, crits are just guaranteed steps up the track for him, and if he gets to 5, he just kills you.
Yeah, I mean, so that's fair, but if you're not getting to 5, which quite frankly, having 3 expertise give you 2 crits probably isn't going to do that. Like maybe it does, but like you're with 2 crits you're getting 5 damage, right? Flat. Yes. That's like basically what that does. Which for like a murder machine killy guy, I don't know. I'm not as impressed. I think like it seems good. Don't get me wrong, but I just wish that his expertise track were a little bit more engaging.
Sure. Like, I mean, I guess in practice, I've found that he usually because of the amount of dice that he can very easily throw 9 dice at you. With the amount of dice that he can throw, he pretty regularly ends up with 2 to 3 crits anyway.
Sure. Yeah, I mean he's throwing a good amount of dice. You're not wrong.
So like.
Yeah, on 8 dice, theoretically, it's 8 sided dice, you're averaging 1, right?
Yeah,
so you're looking at 7 damage.
And the meat and potatoes of his track anyway is the first 3 steps if you're just trying to damage someone. So it's like, you're just doing 7 damage, and if you get to 3 expertise, now you're just doing 8 damage to someone for like a pretty low conversion rate, honestly.
Yeah, no, I mean, I guess the thing I think I wasn't factoring in is probably the fact that you're chucking 8 dice, which on average should give you 2 expertise.
Or 9, if you're using a focus.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I'm a little harsh, but that being said, if you do get to 3, I think 3 at the sweet spot basically guarantees you roughly 3 crits plus 1 damage, which is what 8, which is enough to take out most non-primaries.
Yeah, well, because like the other thing with Grievous too is like you're playing him alongside Battle Droids almost all the time, so and the Battle Droids, both the V1s and 2s, we're going to talk about the B2s in just a second, but like they shoot very hard. So it's going to be pretty rare that you're putting Grievous into a full health target. If you're really trying to make sure that you're setting yourself up correctly with your running Grievous, you're softening the targets up a little bit, and then Grievous is running over and just breaking them in half.
Yeah, I will say you do bring up a good point that I forgot to bring up when we were talking about his normal card instead of his stance. Grievous has the droid keyword. He does not have the battle droid keyword.
Correct.
So although he's battle droid synergy, that's like all of his abilities specify specifically a battle droid. None of the battle droid focused things will affect him. So you're not getting to move him and do crazy free things with like Kraken or the other green lad. What's his name? Kalani.
Yep. That would be way too broken.
Oh, for sure. Oh, no, don't get me wrong.
That.
That'd be bonkers. I'm just saying it is worth noting he is a droid, not a battle droid. So that is important.
You are correct.
And then I guess we have his flip side, which is obviously a lot more defensive. He has take a crit down to a hit and get a dash, and then a block, a crit becomes a hit and a reposition on 3. He's rolling 5 dice, so it's not super likely that you'll get 3, and then just like minimal crits on the rest of his stuff. But it's a shove and 2 damage, a pinned and 2 damage, and then either double heal, reposition damage, or jump damage, shove damage. So he's got a lot of damage. He's got some good movement shenanigans. I don't know. What do you think, Vitaly? You got any strong, spicy takes on Mr. Grieve?
Yeah, I was gonna say he feels like he's gonna get to 3 down his track pretty easily, even against some of the more defensive targets. And then you figure, even if you hold him to 3 and he's going against your primary, that's 7 damage, 8 if he got to 3 expertise, and then now he's going to trigger those 2 abilities. First, he's going to have his B1s or B2s, whatever droids are near him, step up, shoot, maybe trickle on a damage or 2 extra, and then he's like, well, you only have 2 health left, so let me spend 2 force and just smack some other people around you. Like, he can really, like, his 1 activation can put out so much damage. So maybe you knock something out with his attack, and then you tell the droids to step up, shoot the other thing that he's engaged with, and then he spins and hits them for another 2 damage. You can rely like, if the dice go right, and you don't need too much luck for it to go that right, you can easily knock out a secondary and a support in 1 activation, which is what makes him just so nuts, especially when you're trying to take a crucial point.
Sure.
Not to mention, with another fine addition to his, with the amount of Jedi we're seeing in the game right now,
Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, they just released the first Jedi secondaries, right, in Obi-Wan and technically Ahsoka, even though she's not really out yet.
Well, and Barriss Offee.
And Barriss Offee, yeah.
And it's like all of them are right in Grievous's instant kill range.
Yeah.
And like if he's in quad arm attack, none of them are like guaranteed kills. Obviously, they're all pretty tough for what they do. But like if you're setting that up correctly, Grievous can just go in, kill them, immediately heal 2 and refresh 2 force. And if he's more damaged, it's a little bit harder to set this up. But you can just be in Cunning Warlord, go in, slap him, put him. As long as you put him in the dirt, you then heal 4.
Yeah.
And refresh 2 force. So like Grievous is also like deceptively tanky for having pretty low defensive dice.
Yeah. I will say I do kind of wish that he had a little bit. I mean, he definitely he can refresh some force. That's really strong. We haven't seen that in a lot of guys. There's only like 3 other dudes that can do it, I think. But maybe, I don't know. He seems good. He does seem good. Also, his keyword is very strong, right? So like having the battle droids and the droid stuff, I gotta get an all droid game going. I think that's probably what's holding me back. I mean, he seems very good on paper, but I'm a little not underwhelmed, but I just wanted more.
I think once you start really seeing him running a synergy list that suits him, he is very strong. And like I said, the few times I saw him, he was just sawing through my units with reckless abandon, and he was able to just kind of dominate one side of the board by himself with just one supporting unit behind him.
Fair enough. All right, well, Mr. Greaves, we will talk to you later. In the meantime, let us focus on Kraken, Super Tactical Droid. So Kraken, Super Tactical Droid, is a one-man secondary unit for 4 points. He has a tactic called Do Not Let Them Escape. At the start of this unit's activation, you may choose this unit or an alloyed Battle Droid supporting unit. Each character in the chosen unit may dash, which is pretty good. So he's a dude who can let himself dash, or he can let other people dash. He's got Tactical Network, which we've already seen is exactly the same thing on Kalani. For 1 force, he can choose another allied Battle Droid character within 4, again, not Grievous, because he's just Droid, not Battle. And the chosen character may dash, gain a Hunker token, remove a condition from itself, or make a 5 dice attack. It's dash and then Hunker token, condition removal, or 5 dice attack. But let's be real, it's dash 5 dice attack. Come on.
Depending on the situation, it's basically usually
or Hunker if you're
it's dash Hunker, it's dash 5 dice, and then like only rare instances you'll need that remove condition.
Yeah. And then we have two innate abilities. Complete Analysis is when you spend force to put this unit's order card in reserve, spend 1 less, which we've also seen somewhere else. Wild. And then also we have Conqueror's Resolve, which is while a character in this unit is contesting 1 or more active objectives, it has Protection and Steadfast, which is absurdly strong. Protection, of course, is you take 1 less damage whenever you're resolving a damage pool. And Steadfast is you ignore the first shove result anytime you're shoved, which is quite strong. 10 stamina, 2 durability. Right? Am I crazy? Yep. Yeah. Or 10 durability, 2 stamina. Oh my god, I can't.
10 stamina, 2 durability.
10 stamina, 2 durability. We did it. He's a Kraken-y boy. He's got a great arm. For sure. You should choose the fist arm. That's the best one. That's how I built mine. That's how I'd recommend you build yours. The pointy arm is lame.
So he's one where if I have to pick one of the 2 super tacticals, I'm picking Krakens solely because he fits into more combinations, being a 4
solely because he's 4 points instead of 5 points.
Yep.
Yeah, because he's not single-handedly the most expensive secondary unit in the game. Kalani in an all droid list, though, I feel like you want Kalani because everyone moves is great, but
yes, so I think the case for when you're taking Kraken is if you're playing a Separatist Alliance list, not necessarily an all droids list.
Yeah, if you're doing Kraken in a squad with a character like probably Grievous, quite frankly, and like some Battle Droids or some Magna Guard or some B1s or B2s, or something like that, there's no world that you're not taking Kraken, right? Dude's good for sure, but if you're going all droid, I think if you're going all droid, quite frankly, you probably are taking both. But
Yeah, I do like the synergy they give you for running both of them, because then you can tactical network the other one to put that one in a better position to tactical network another maybe key unit or something like that, because they do both have the battle droid keyword, so they key off of each other in that way. And then he just has great passive abilities, and he just brings a lot to what you want to do with a battle droid list, where you're just trying to keep everyone in this like cohesive web of, you know, move up the board, giving free movement out, which is, you know, you see with Grievous, where he gets to give out movement. It's like a lot of separatist and droid type lists give out this just like, all right, I started my activation, free movement for everyone, or free movement for this unit, and stuff like that.
Yeah, so much tactical, so much network, and his, you know, he's not the worst either, right? Obviously, his melee is not, again, where you really want to see this guy. He's got seven dice at range 5, or 5 dice at melee, 4 defensive dice. And then his blaster is 1 gives you a crit, 2 or more gives you a crit, and 2 hits. Which, like, if you're getting 2 and you're getting 3 dice off of it, that's not bad. One for a crit's fine too. His melee is like a hit for 1 to 2, 3 is a crit, and 4 is 2 crits. But that's like on 5 dice is like never gonna happen. And then you can start at either a shove in damage or a pinned in damage. Then you move into a shove and 2 damage, and then you can either go activate his tactical network for free, followed by a shove, followed by 2 damage, or you can do 2 damage followed by the shove, followed by 2 damage. So, like, realistically, like 7 damage on 7 damage and 2 shoves on a or 3 shoves rather, or 2 shoves and a pinned is not bad for a secondary, especially a ranged one, right? It's a lot of shoving from 5 inches away, or from range 5 away.
I also really like that if you don't necessarily have the force to do tactical network when you're activating him, he has activate abilities so short, like so soon down his track.
Yeah, it's three is very early.
Yeah, it's a lot of times it's kind of a gamble to go for that. And with him, it seems like it's a little more, I don't want to say guaranteed, it's a dice game, but like it's a little closer to guaranteed than with a lot of characters, because it is only 3 successes down his track.
Yeah, and I think more than anything else, that's probably why we see him cap out at 2 expertise with 1 crit with 2 hits, instead of like 2 or 3 gives you 2 crits. Because if you got two automatic crits to guarantee a free movement ability, that'd be wild.
Yeah.
But, you know, I still think it's very strong. Vitaly, any bits on Mr. Kraken?
Yeah, I mean, I think that one of the biggest things I like from him, because there's enough damage through this box alone that you don't need his damage as much. So for me, I love that I can just almost guarantee get that tactical network and then go 3 shoves, and that's just 3 inches of movement off of a point for my opponent, and then 3 inches of movement for me if I just get down 4 down the track. And it feels like he's just very, like, he just wants to convert, and he's going to get down his track pretty simply. As long as you get like 7 dice, you turn 2 of those into expertise, and you already got 3 hits on the board, and then plus whatever else you rolled.
Yeah. Yep. These are all excellent points. I think that there's, you know, there's a lot, like, dude, I can't say enough at range 5, which is 10 inches, by the way. You can take a model 10 inches away from him and push him up, like 7 inches, and then also push the other model like 7 inches. So it's a 40 mil or a 50 mil, depending on what you're shooting at, placed an inch away from itself 3 times in a row. And you only need 4 hits to do that. Wild. Not to mention you could tactical. You could have him move get a dash in the middle of it with a tactical network. It is really good. It's very, very strong.
Well, he can't dash in the middle of it. His tactical network is
he can give it to somebody else, not
yeah.
himself. But yeah, wild stuff. So much movement on such a little frame. He's truly a turtle in a half shell turtle power.
I don't know why. I don't know about that. But
he's green. I don't know. He's green. He looks like a Ninja Turtle. He can move a lot. That's basically what Ninja Turtles do.
I do think he is a perfectly reasonable secondary, where you know you're gonna take him if you're running droids, and if you're not running droids, you're probably not going to.
That's true. And on the note of Ninja Turtles, we have 2 turtly boys who are definitely turtly enough for the Turtle Club, the B2 Battle Droids. So these B2 Battle Droids are a 4-point secondary, 4-point supporting unit. that is, of course, a 2-man supporting unit, just like everything else in the game except for the Jedi Hunters. And they have 3 abilities. They have an activated ability, Relentless Advance. For 1 force, each character in this unit may dash, which is great. They've Saturation Fire for 1 force. When a character in this unit targets an enemy character that is contesting 1 or more active objectives with an attack, this unit may use this ability to add 2 dice to the attack roll. What a time.
It's a really good ability.
It's pretty strong. And then lastly, they have an ability, Enhanced Blast Armor. They have Protection, which just means they take 1 less damage whenever they're attacked. It's wild.
Yep.
8 stamina, 2 durability for a support unit. But that 8 is so much stronger than a normal 8 cost support unit, right? Literally, they're taking 1 less damage every time, which means you have to do 9 damage to one-shot them. And if you have to attack them twice, they're taking 2 less damage. Not to mention you have a bunch of different ways to, heal and buff them through different various abilities that you'll be taking in the thing. Dude, oh my god, Protection's so good.
Yeah, I mean, the math in this game clearly shows that you want to have more health as opposed to more defensive dice. Raw health is just a better way to stay alive in this game. And having Protection on top of pretty decent health is even better.
Yeah, and they have very decent health. They're like tied, I think, for 2nd or 3rd in most health for a supporting unit, right? They're 8's pretty strong. There's a lot of 7s and 6s. There's a good number of 8s. There's a good number of 9s, and there's like 1 10. It's the Magna Guard, right?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, the clones kind of pull up the rear for.
Yeah, well, they need to. They're built-in defense and hunker, right? Obi-Wan. But yeah, I mean, and like they're not bad either. Obviously, it's Saturation Fire, so they can get some extra stuff going. But
yeah, like Mandalorians are 7 for the good guys and 8 for the bad guys. I believe the B1s are 7 also. So like,
yeah,
sorry, B1s are 9.
B1s are 9. Oh, B1s are 9. Yeah, whatever.
So, these guys are tied for 3rd with the Mandalorian Super Commandos for most health because obviously the most of the Magna Guard.
Yeah, but which you could also play. But the so Suppression Control Protocol is their stance card. They have 6 range dice, 5 melee dice, and their range is at range 5, 4 defense dice against range 3 against melee, which is not great. But on a single expertise, they have a block. They have 2 blocks on 3 expertise, and then their ranged expertise is 1 damage or 2 damage, and their melee expertise is a hit or a crit at 1 and 2 and 1 to 2 and 3 respectively. Their track is like fine. It's a shove and a damage, then 2 damage, and then either a shove and a damage, an expose and 2 damage, and then 3 damage, or a reposition and a damage, a pinned and 2 damage, and then damage. So if they're getting to the end of the track, either way, it doesn't matter. You're doing 9 damage, which is a lot of damage for 5. Are they going to get to the end of the track? Probably not. They have no way of guaranteeing crits. So you really gotta roll badly against them and not have any abilities. But like, they're throwing a good amount of dice. It's just not gonna happen, right? There's no way that you actually get to 5.
Yeah, I mean that's pie in the sky stuff right there. I think the only way you get to 5 is if you're shooting like an exposed character. Because if you're shooting at somebody who's exposed and they don't have cover and like they're just getting hit by these guys, yeah, they're gonna full track you. Because generally they're shooting at somebody on an objective, so they're almost they're sometimes going to have focus. They're almost always going to be shooting 8 dice, sometimes 9, which is sizable. Like what I've more found for these guys, like pretty consistently, what they can do against basically anyone they're shooting at aside from people with reflect is like 6 damage. I typically wouldn't fire them at reflect targets because it's a great way to just make them take some free damage.
Yep.
But like shooting them at secondaries that don't anyone I guess aside from Padawan Ahsoka, shooting at secondaries or supports, they're a great way to just like almost kill them and soften them up for Grievous. Because it's not hard to get 2 expertise. So like if they convert 3 hits into expertise, they just did 6 damage to someone.
Yeah, and I mean, as a unit, like, you can easily put 4 damage on something rolling 2 expertise on 6 or 8 dice. And I think having the shove early helps out too, right? Because like realistically on 8 dice, you should be rolling a crit, which puts you at a single shove and a damage every time, which is not bad.
And you gotta remember too with these guys, each one of them is like pretty easily doing 6 damage to you. So like while a single one of them not that threatening, they are usually pushing as a duo because like that's how they're most effective. And if they are just focus firing a target, having 2 damage as 2 expertise is effectively just like adding an extra step onto their damage track that they just get every time.
Yeah. I mean, that true. They are pretty force hungry though, and unfortunately, saturation fire, as a reaction, it specifically is when you do an attack and it applies against one of you, which means if you want to use it, you could use it for both because it's different instances that cause the reaction window, but it's costing you 2 force, and if they advance, then it's 3 force every time you activate this, which you're like isn't sustainable. You can't spend 3 force every time you activate when you're supporting.
No, you can't, but you can pretty easily spend 1 every time you activate them.
Yeah, and throwing 2 dice is usually enough with 6 to guarantee a crit.
One thing that I've been seeing because I've been trying to run a lot of droid lists. One thing I've been seeing with these is that you really want to build as much force refresh as you can into your droid list because droids are force hungry.
Or just in general, I mean, force refresh is really strong, right?
I mean, it's never bad to have it in your list, but it's like specifically for droids. Droids have a lot of abilities that cost force that you kind of always want to be able to use if necessary. So like, it's really nice to build that into the droid list, whereas like, it's not as necessary for some other lists.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot to be said for generally just force refresh as a whole. Vitaly, what do you think?
Yeah, I was going to say with these guys, I do agree they are very, very force hungry, but that's why with the increasing number of Jedis that we're seeing be playable, the fact that Grievous can just refresh 2 force when he knocks one down, which is exactly what he wants to be doing. With these guys walking right behind him, they soften him up, they use some force up, and then he just pays it right back on his turn by knocking him down. And then it also means that like if you're really using something that's force hungry, that opens up characters like Maul, who while is not as durable because he only has the 2 durability, he can also just consume his own health instead of spending your precious force that you have. But yeah, it feels like you exactly want to just be Grievous running up the board, but these guys just in tow, ready to step up and shoot a target that he just attacked, and help just pour damage onto target while you're just trying to swarm an objective that you really need to take.
Yeah. That is a lot, I think, to think about the Grievous Dinosaur Squad Pack.
If I could.
Oh, please. Yeah, forget I said that. What you got?
Well, I just want to say one interesting combo that I haven't had a chance to actually test on the table yet, but on paper it seems like it could work pretty well, is actually running Dooku with Grievous, because Dooku is a very good force refresh. Droids tend to go down pretty easily, and Dooku gives you force back when primary or secondary units get wounded. Yeah,
plus I'm pretty sure that Grievous and Dooku used to date.
Yeah, it's like Dooku gives you if Grievous goes down, Dooku gives you a force refresh. If someone picks off your super tactical droid, which they're going to want to do because they're super important, Dooku gives you a force refresh. He also can push Separatist Alliance units, not just battle droids, so he can push Grievous. He can make Grievous dash. Like I still don't know necessarily how good he would be in the combat department, although he is a fairly solid duelist if you want to have somebody just try and go tank Vader for a turn or two.
Yeah.
As far as keeping the force machine going for droids, he is a pretty solid piece for just standing there, holding an objective, and giving you force back.
Yeah, and if there's one thing that we're famous for here at the Danger Planet, it's loving Dooku and him being a great model that we all appreciate.
Well, I love the character Dooku, so I was trying to think of a way to get him into lists. I think that might actually be an interesting way to incorporate Dooku into some lists. To use him as just a force battery to empower the bowling ball of murder that is Grievous's crew.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing that we're going to see as we get deeper into this game is units that might not have had a great spot in the meta of the game. When a new box comes out, it kind of unlocks some potential that they didn't have before.
Yeah, especially with a bunch of keyword synergy stuff,
Yep.
Yeah. So I think that's a lot to think about for the Apatosaurus for Destruction Squad Pack from Star Wars Shatterpoint.
Didn't scientists decide that the Apatosaurus isn't real?
No, I think you're thinking pancreases. Those aren't real. But in addition, I will say, this box has some great models, which are a lot of fun to paint, especially if you use Pro Acryl. I have recently discovered the Pro Acryl Dark Silver. It is the best paint I've ever used in my life. I love it. It's amazing. We're not even sponsored by Pro Acryl. I just love them, and you should buy their paints because they're the best paints that exist, period. Weird tangent, I know, but Pro Acryl are the shit. Monument Hobbies. Maybe we'll link it below. But if you want to check out how other people are painting and building these boxes, which hopefully Shaky Fist Kraken, very important. Check out the Goonhammer link below. You should be checking out Goonhammer. They're one of the best sources for strategy and articles and all kinds of stuff on the internet for miniature wargaming. And jump in our Discord, see what we're doing, talk to us about stuff, see our cool stuff, see how much I love Pro Acryl and how much I talk about it all the time. Because I do. I love it. They're great. Huge fan. Okay, that's all I got. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. This has been Brandon and Ian and Vitaly. Say goodbye, guys.
Bye.
We did it. Okay, bye.